Welcome to the Perimenopause Playbook, a place where we explore the fascinating intersection of neuroscience and interior design to support the cognitive health of women in perimenopause and menopause. I am Lola Ajayi, an interior designer on a mission to share my findings on neuroscience for interior design with protocols and ideas that support and enhance the cognitive well-being of women during this transformative stage of life. Join me as we delve into the fascinating world of neuroscience for interior design and discover how we can create spaces that nurture and empower women during this important time. Let's design supportive spaces for a healthier mind, a healthier body, and a healthier soul together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 13. Today is Friday, the 13th of December, 2024. And I'm really excited that we're close to the end of the year. So this is going to be the last episode for the year because next year I plan to start a new theme for my podcasts and hopefully able to bring on a few interesting guests on the episode. I'm very excited about that. I have been in chats with a few people and I've got more yeses than nos, so that's really good news. So I'm really excited about that. And another thing that I want to discuss is, before we get into the podcast, that there is a podcast today, but I'm just reflecting on sort of what next year is going to bring. I have been working on a coaching program for women in perimenopause and postmenopause for the better part of a year. And I am happy to announce that I am very nearly done. It's not finished. It's a 6-month coaching program. It's a done with you program. And what a done with you program means is that you have a set of modules that you follow. And you have me to work with you on all of the things that you're learning on a week-by-week basis. So take, for instance, this week's module is on lighting quality. After you've taken your courses and you followed through and you have some understanding of what you're learning, that's you and I, we meet at the end of the week or at whatever time of the day of the week that works for you, weekend or weekday, to talk about practical ways that you can implement them. And I haven't quite decided yet if said client is looking for me to become more hands-on with helping to design the spaces, to create a shopping list for them, to design the space, then yeah, we can totally do that. But this program is designed to empower you as the individual to take charge of your space, understand how your space works, so that long after the program ends, you're equipped with all the tools that you need to create that, to keep creating and recreating and updating as your needs evolve your space, without needing to pay an interior designer every time you're trying to change something, and also to remove all of the hit and miss, drama that comes with not really knowing what you're doing. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to bring that to the world. So starting January, we're going to be putting out content like that's leading in that direction. Alongside, we're still going to be putting out valuable social media posts, and we're still going to be doing podcasts. But there's going to be a bunch else that we're going to be offering, and one of those is the coaching program. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, that's pretty much the biggest news that I have for next year. And yeah, I mean, that's going to take up. It's going to be on a rolling basis of 6 months. And once we close the doors for the first 6-month intake, we start open doors again at the 5th month to let new people come in. But yeah, we're a small company, so we're not looking to take on too many people at one go in order to maintain the quality of the service that we're offering, to our people, basically. So yeah, so that's about it on news. And yeah, I hope that everyone's, winding down for the end of the year. We're all reflecting on the ups and downs of this year. I really hope that even with all of the, whether it's negative things, not so negative things, positive things, not so positive things, we all look at our experiences. We all look back on our experiences this year with an attitude of gratitude and understanding that nothing really happens for a reason, without a reason, that nothing happens by accident. Everything is there to teach you something. And how you choose to walk away or come away from an experience is the mindset that you have going in. So if your mindset is that of doom and gloom 100% of the time, then you're only going to get negativity out of it. I can go down a rabbit hole and just talk to you about all of the just earth shattering things that I've experienced the past year, and I'm just really grateful because everything that has happened to me, while in the moment was painful and annoying and frustrating, it's all led me to this point in my life. I mean, I get a little emotional just thinking about it. The way that my life has turned out this year, it's so unprecedented. And I owe a lot of it to the fact that I have learned to approach everything with the mindset of, what am I taking away from this? What is this here to teach me? You know what I mean? So yeah, I hope that everyone does look back on the events of the past year, good or bad, with an attitude of gratitude. I know I am, and I hope that you are too. Right, so after all that is said and done, let's dive into episode 13 of the Perimenopause Playbook. And the title of today's episode is, everything is so laid back and just quiet and things that I'm losing track of everything. So the title of my podcast today is How to Create a Personal Toxin-Free Toolkit to support your cognitive health. And it is really important to create one, because in creating one, we help ourselves maintain sharp, resilient minds as we navigate perimenopause and postmenopause. And a quick research into that, the reason why, because my podcast is about neuroscience-informed interior design strategies. Even if it's just giving advice, it's research-informed advice, because I believe very deeply in there being empirical truths to the things that we apply to our lives. Research that I found from the University of Exeter, released in 2018, shows us that exposure to common household pollutants, including those that disrupt our endocrine system, like BPA and so forth, can impair our memory and cognitive flexibility. And this is an area where women often experience major challenges in the cognitive side of things. And our cognitive health is influenced by heavily, I can speak for myself, that my cognitive ability is heavily influenced by my sleep quality. And so it's really, really important. And it's also really, really important because in this state of life, as our hormones are fluctuating and they're changing and the levels are dropping, especially estrogen, these can make the brain more sensitive to things, to triggers that cause stress, like high levels of stress. But there's good news. We can do more to reduce this risk than we initially thought that we could. I mean, we're not at the mercy of, the elements. We do have tools that we can leverage to help us. And so in this episode, I'm going to give you practical steps for reducing toxins in your home and your daily life. Stick around. So if you are familiar with the process through which I disseminate the podcast, for lack of a better word. And I hope that you have been listening to the episodes that I've been putting out because they're very, very helpful. You would see a common thread, and the common thread is this. First, we identify the challenges, we create an awareness of the challenge, and then we highlight the mechanisms, the science of the why and the how. And then we wrap it up with practical, proven design strategies that you can apply right now to help you create supportive spaces for you. So in that same vein, let's dig into the science behind how toxins affect our cognitive health. And because understanding the why is very crucial to making informed choices in our interior spaces and in our everyday life by extension. So the one way that toxins harm the brain is through neuroinflammation. Now, it sounds like a big word until you understand what it is, and then it becomes this just simple word that you know intuitively. So I'm going to give an analogy to sort of explain what neuroinflammation is. Imagine that you scraped your knee. That knee swells up, it turns red, it starts to bleed, and it feels very tender and painful, right? That's inflammation. And inflammation is a natural response that our body uses to protect and heal itself. It's like your body's emergency repair crew rushing to the site of the injury to clear all the bad stuff and begin the process of healing. Now, neuroinflammation is that exact same process, but it's happening in your brain. So instead of swelling and redness, it's a kind of chemical alarm system. So when something harmful enters the brain, like a toxin from the environment, for instance, the brain sends out signals to activate its version of a repair crew. And this crew, this is a very cool word. It's a very cool thing that I learned that I'm really excited to share with you. It consists of immune cells that are called microglia. And these microglia, they rush in to fix the problem and protect your neurons, and your neurons are the cells that make your brain work. But here's where it gets tricky. Just like that scraped knee, inflammation is supposed to stop once the threat is taken care of. But if the harmful exposure keeps on happening or is sustained over a period of time, like for instance, if you keep bumping that harmful knee and preventing it from healing, it never gets the chance to totally heal. And then the inflammation becomes chronic and it develops into something other than just a simple scrape in the first place, right? So in the brain, chronic inflammation doesn't cause visible swelling, but it does disrupt how the neurons communicate with one another. It's like having static on the radio where the signals between the brain cells are jammed and they're muffled or distorted. And over time, this can lead to symptoms like brain fog, like difficulty concentrating or memory problems. But I would be remiss if I didn't highlight that it's not just toxins that cause neuroinflammation. Things like stress, a poor diet, or a bad sleep architecture or sleep hygiene also play a huge role. But because the focus of today's podcast is on environmental toxins, we're going to focus on that. And we're going to focus on things like chemicals and plastics, like things like air pollution or even synthetic fragrances that are found commonly in the home, and how they trigger that harmful ongoing inflammatory response in our brain. Now, another mechanism that I would like to discuss is oxidative stress. And oxidation, this is a process that we've all witnessed many, many times. If you've cut open an apple and left it out on the counter, when it turns brown, that is the process through which it turns brown, that is oxidation. And it is a natural reaction that occurs when the apple is exposed to oxygen in the air for a period of time. And you can counteract that. And this is an interesting a twist here. You can counteract the oxidative process by applying some lemon. And lemon, because lemon contains vitamin C. Any skincare enthusiasts out there, vitamin C acts as sort of like a free radical mop that absorbs all of the free radical. It absorbs all the oxygen, so it doesn't get to the apple to create oxidative stress. So it's kind of like how vitamin C creams work on the skin, but that's an aside. But you get the point now. The vitamin C in the apple, I think it's the vitamin C in the apple, absorbs the oxygen, and it creates oxidation, and oxidation creates a brown thing. And that's why when vitamin C serums are left out in the open, and this is the key reason why, if you're looking to buy a vitamin C serum, this is not a beauty podcast, but I have to say this. If you're looking to buy a vitamin C serum, by all means, choose one that comes in an airless bottle. Airless and glass, preferably if it's darker, perfect. So that eliminates all of the processes that might affect it. Anyway, that's not the word I was looking for, but you get the point. Now, let's go back to the podcast and our bodies. Now, imagine something similar, like what happens to the apple, happening inside our body. So when your cells are producing energy or they encounter toxins from the environment, they create these free radicals. And free radicals are like sparks off of a campfire. Few sparks are fine, but too many sparks can cause damage, especially when it lands on something flammable. And it creates a wildfire and everything just goes bananas. So your body has its own fire extinguishers to deal with these sparks. Kind of like how you add a piece of lemon or lemon juice to an apple. Your body has its own fire extinguishers, and they deal with these sparks. And so antioxidants are the body's fire extinguishers, and they neutralize these free radicals before they can cause any harm. They go around, they mop up all of these free radicals, the sparks, and your cells remain healthy because of that barrier between the free radicals and them. And we can find antioxidants. Our bodies produce them naturally, but we can also find them in a healthy diet of fruits and vegetables because, of course, it's not just vitamin C that is the key one. There are lots of antioxidants. If you'd like to have a podcast with a nutritionist on this subject, do let me know, and I'll be happy to bring somebody on board. Now, moving on, there is an issue when we're exposed to too many toxins in the environment, like chemicals in plastics, like chemicals in air pollution, or even certain processed foods. And that's a subject for another podcast. You start to produce way more free radicals than your body naturally does. And it's more than your antioxidants can handle. So this imbalance is called this imbalance of your body not being able to produce enough antioxidants to handle these toxins. It's called oxidative stress. And it's like having too many sparks and not enough fire extinguishers. So what does this mean for your brain health? Oxidative stress can damage the neurons in your brain. And these neurons are the cells that are responsible for everything from memory to focus to mood regulation. So think of your neurons like electrical wires. Free radicals essentially fray those wires, making it harder for your brain to send clear signals back and forth and to function optimally. And over time, this damage can contribute to cognitive decline, brain fog, and even increase your risk for conditions like Alzheimer's. I'm sorry, my voice went up like 3 octaves there because this is really, it's really personal to me because I've seen just what the damage can do. And also, a lack of proper sleep can also increase this oxidative stress because your brain needs to be in a condition where it can defend itself. Your body needs to be put in a condition where it can optimally defend itself. And exposure to these toxins and bad diets and bad sleep hygiene puts your body in a very sensitive position. And that's why we need to focus on all of these things. So yeah. So why is Why is this important for women in peri and postmenopause? Oxidative stress is crucial to address during perimenopause and postmenopause because estrogen, we've mentioned this before, a hormone that naturally declines during this stage of life, plays a neuroprotective role in fighting oxidative stress. So now the third mechanism that I would highlight here is hormonal interference. And this is another way that environmental toxins can impact our brain, especially when, in this time of life. I mean, it impacts everyone's brains, but I'll explain why further down, why it is really important for women in perimenopause and postmenopause to pay attention. But first, let's break it down. Hormonal interference, this happens when chemicals from the environment start to mess with the natural balance of hormones in our bodies. These chemicals are called endocrine disrupting chemicals, or more popularly known by the acronym EDCs. These substances include BPAs, phthalates, and certain pesticides. And you find them in plastics, personal care products, the air in your home, the treatment of fruits and vegetables. And that's why a lot of people choose, like me included, to buy organics, those that aren't treated with pesticides. Really important to note. And a 2020 review in Endocrine Review specifically linked EDCs, endocrine disrupting chemicals, to worsen brain fog and reduce cognitive resilience in postmenopausal women. So in order to understand why this is important, let's discuss estrogen. Estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It is also neuroprotective, which means that it plays a key role in brain health. It helps our neurons, which are the brain's communication cells, to grow and connect. It also protects the brain from damage. It's like a shield that works to protect us against inflammation and oxidative stress. And this is why during our reproductive years, when estrogen levels are high, our brain is naturally more resilient. But as you enter into perimenopause, our estrogen levels start to fluctuate and eventually decline. One day they might be high, the next they're low, and it's like a roller coaster. And then once postmenopause sets in, estrogen levels drop and stabilize at a much lower baseline. So you're not completely devoid of estrogen. Our body switch to another hormone called estradiol. It's a type of estrogen, but it's not as powerful as estrogen because, estrogen is important for reproduction, but we're no longer reproducing, but our bodies need the estrogen, so it's switched to estradiol. But that's a whole nother spiel that you should probably talk to your doctor about. I'm talking to my doctor about that and learning more about, the how my body functions is going to function postmenopause. Anyway, so this decline in estrogen leaves the brain more vulnerable to stressors, including toxins. Now, here is what EDCs do. EDCs, like I said earlier, they interfere with our natural hormones, but they do this in three main ways. First off is they mimic hormones. Some EDCs, they act as hormone imposters. For example, BBC mimics estrogen, and then it binds to estrogen receptors in the body. However, it doesn't help the brain, but rather it sends the wrong signals and disrupts brain function. A second way that it interferes with our natural hormones is that it blocks our hormones. There's some EDCs that block our natural hormones and they prevent them from doing their job. And this is like trying to turn on a light switch, but finding that something is wedged in the way, preventing it from flipping, you don't get light, right? The third way that it works is by altering our hormone levels. So some EDCs, they change how our body produces or breaks down hormones, which then throws off the delicate balance that our brain relies on to function optimally. Why is this important and why does it matter for cognitive health? During the perimenopause and postmenopause, our brains are already adapting and adapted to lower levels of estrogen, which can make us more prone to brain fog, memory lapses, and mood changes. And when EDCs enter the picture, need I say more? they compound these effects and make them even worse than they need to be. EDCs can also increase inflammation in the brain, which is a process we talked about earlier, and they've been linked to long-term risks for conditions like dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Now, I'm going to share a quick story. This is somebody who I got talking to on TikTok. I'm not going to mention names. She's 52 years old, and she recently entered her postmenopausal stage. And she told me that for months she'd been struggling, for months or years even, she's been struggling with brain fog and just mood swings that she can't explain. And she assumed, it's just a part of the aging process and she needs to deal with it, right? It is part of the aging process, but it's exacerbated by environmental toxins and our lifestyle choices. And so I think it was my post on making intentional lifestyle changes, making intentional interior style changes and so forth, that she started to implement a few of these things. And so after she implemented a few of those things, she started to notice subtle changes. I think she said one of the things that she did, that she started to do, was she replaced all of her plastic food containers with glass ones. She also stopped using synthetically scented candles. She switched to essential oils. And she also switched her exercise water bottle from plastic to stainless steel. Just those really subtle changes. She said she started to notice subtle improvements. She had less mental fatigue. She had better focus and fewer mood swings. She also started to intermittent fast responsibly. And she told me that it was like a fog has been lifted that she didn't know was there. And this was just amazing. So let's create a simple analogy to help you better understand how estrogen works. So think of estrogen as the conductor of an orchestra. It keeps all of the instruments, which are your neurons, it keeps them all working in harmony to produce beautiful music. And which is, in this case, is clear thinking, strong memory, just productivity and focus. And when estrogen levels start to fluctuate and drop, the conductor is no longer there full time, but the orchestra is can still function if things are in balance, right? So now imagine that someone barges into the concert and starts banging on the wrong instruments or shouting out of tune. That's what endocrine disrupting chemicals do. They disrupt the flow and harmony of your brain processes. Now, thankfully, that there are so many ways that we can reduce our exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals and protect our brain. Let's break this down into actionable steps. So the first step, as the person got in contact with me said, switch to safer alternatives, avoid plastics where possible. And with plastics, safer alternatives like glass or stainless steel for food and water storage are an amazing. They're simple, but they have big effects. Even BPA-free plastics. Some people say that there are BPA-free plastics. Yeah, I don't know about that, but I have seen research that says that they can still leach chemicals, so it's best to avoid them altogether, right? We don't want a little bit of chemicals seeping into our food and water. We want none of these BPA-free BPAs leaching into anything, Another step you can take is to skip canned foods as much as possible. I for instance, when I'm cooking, I love coconut milk, and the only access that I have to coconut milk right now is coconut milk in the can. Prior to moving to France, I used to process my own coconut milk, but it's on my list of things to buy. Things I need to buy in 2025, early 2025, is to buy a food processor where I can process my own coconut milk, because coconut milk, I love coconut milk. Coconut milk makes everything taste good. But yeah, back to canned foods. Many cans are lined with materials that contain BPA. So look for brands labeled as BPA free or opt for fresh or frozen foods, or just process your own your own ingredients. Like if you absolutely need to have things like I know it takes a lot more effort, but I can guarantee you that
that tiny little extra effort you're making has big, big benefits for you. Huge. And you can like batch create them and freeze them. You know what I mean? So I mean it's yeah. That's another story for when if you want to learn more, you want to have a conversation about this. You can always reach me from any my email. I have my phone number on there. You can reach me on TikTok. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Let's have a talk about this if you want to talk a little more about how we can go through this process together. And that's why I'm creating. I guess this is a great way to. This is a great time to plug a coaching program that I am launching next month, January of next month. But it's not going to be operational until the middle of February because we want people to get on and so forth. The idea is to. So it's a 6-month coaching program, and that coaching program is a done with you coaching program where you're not only being taught things, but you'll be working with me to implement all of those lifestyle and special changes that you need to make to optimize your lifestyle in your home space. So anyway, that's an aside, and I'm really excited about it. So that's why it keeps coming up in everything. So the third thing, the second thing, sorry, I talked about avoiding plastics. That's a switch to different alternatives, which is glass or stainless steel, and also skip canned foods and process your own foods as much as possible. But if you can't avoid it, some canned products are fine for now, but make an effort to change them, like I am for the coconut milk. The second step that you can take is to clean up your personal care routine. So check your shampoos, your lotions, and your makeup for ingredients like parabens and phthalates. These are common EDCs that can disrupt hormone balance in your body. Also look for certifications like Made Safe or EWG verified when choosing your products. The third thing is to reduce pesticide exposure. So when you buy your product, whether it's organic or inorganic, wash this produce thoroughly, even if it's labeled organic, like I said. For foods with higher pesticide residues, if you can't avoid it, for instance, strawberries and spinach, opt for organic versions when possible and still wash them thoroughly. Another thing is to consider growing your own herbs. Now, this is a huge stretch because even I don't grow my own herbs. I know people who do. If you have the space for it and you have the time for it, amazing. Grow your own herbs and vegetables, even if it's just a small window garden. That is a dream for me. I used to grow my herbs back in Nigeria, but because of spatial constraints here, I haven't gotten around to growing my own herbs and vegetables. It's not an excuse, but it's also on my list of things to do moving forward. A fourth thing is to improve your indoor air quality. Now, last episode we talked about VOCs and how to avoid them. So, if you haven't listened to the last episode, I urge you to do so. It's on this subject, but I'm going to do a quick recap of that. VOCs from air fresheners, cleaning products, and even furniture finishes, and the materials used in the furniture can contain hormone disrupting chemicals. So, switch on scented or natural scented products and invest in an HEPA air filter for your home. But if you want to know more, I went into detail in the previous episode. So that's episode 12. Now, the fifth thing is to filter your drinking water. Many water supplies contain trace amounts of EDC, and that includes pesticides and pharmaceuticals. So, in order to avoid this, invest in a high quality water filter that removes these contaminants. And an example of these are water filters that have a reverse osmosis system or one that is certified to remove endocrine disruptors, not just any kind of water, like a Brita, for instance, just filters. I don't know what Brita filters, but like the basic Brita, um, that's not going to help. So yeah, so look for one of these two that have reverse osmosis system or one that's certified to remove endocrine disruptors is really important. So yeah, to recap, it's really important. So this person's story that I shared earlier, I would not name names. Her story is a great reminder that small, consistent changes can add up to really big results. And so, in reducing exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals, it's not about perfection. You can't get it all down, the first time around. You will become overwhelmed, and that's why I encourage people to make small changes, just intentional changes over time, and you find that over time, as you're changing this out, changing that out, you're making progress. So start with one area of your space, one area of your life, your diet choices, something like, for instance, replacing your plastic water bottle with a glass or metal one, not aluminum. Please don't use aluminum. That has a whole, a host of problems. Or swapping out a cleaning product with a cleaner one and go from there. Remember that every step you take protects not just your hormones, but it also protects your brain's ability to adapt and thrive during perimenopause and postmenopause. Now, let us move on to key toxins to look out for. There are three major categories of toxins to keep on your radar. The first is BPAs and phthalates. These are commonly found in food packaging, in plastic containers, and beauty products. The second to watch out for are volatile organic compounds. I talked about that in depth. Go back to episode 12. It's all there. These VOCs are released by paints, furniture, and even air fresheners. And a study in environmental health perspectives has linked prolonged exposure to VOCs to impaired executive function. So if you need your executive function working optimally, avoid VOCs. Just avoid everything. And the third toxin to watch out for is heavy metals. Now, examples of heavy metals are mercury, lead, and arsenic. And these can accumulate in the body over time, particularly through unfiltered water and certain types of fish. Tuna is high on my list of offending fish. I don't eat tuna. Also because I know it's packed full of heavy metals. I just don't touch it. And chronic exposure has been associated with reduced memory and attention span. And a study from toxicology reports supports this. If you're interested in the studies, it's in the show notes. Do have a look. There's links to head straight to the reason. Links in my Spotify, in YouTube. For some reason, there are no clickable links, but I'm working on resolving that. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I apologize. So just I still pop down the links. Just if you can copy and paste, you can head directly there. But I can't do clickable links on there yet. So now that we've talked about all of the stuff, let's talk about how we can build a toxin-free toolkit. And this is where science meets actionable change. And I'm going to be a school teacher. Listen all of the steps to take to building your toxin-free toolkit. And the first step is to, of course, assess your environment. Figure out what's in your environment, and here's some tools that can help you do that. The first thing is to detoxify. And how do you detoxify? Step one, switch to non-toxic products, like using natural cleaning supplies as opposed to store-bought ones that are just packed full of toxins. Look at your personal care products. Make sure that they're free of synthetic fragrances and of course, invest in non-toxic cookware like stainless steel or cast iron. Another thing to do is to improve your air quality. Make sure you ventilate your home daily, at least 15 minutes. Leave your windows open for 15 minutes to swap out old air and get in and introduce some clean air. And also invest in an HEPA air purifier to reduce airborne pollutants, like VOCs. And a study to support that study in environmental health perspectives found that better air quality significantly reduced oxidative stress markers in the participants of the study. Now, the third thing is to filter your water. Use a high-quality water filter to remove heavy metals like lead and arsenic, which contribute to oxidative stress. Now, why start with air and water, you might ask? The research from the Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology found that improving indoor air quality alone can boost cognitive performance by 10%, especially in tasks requiring focus. What's not to love? Now, step 2 is to choose non-toxic alternatives. So once you've identified the problem areas, it is time to replace harmful products with safer ones. So your personal care product, let's elaborate on that. Switch to brands that are free of parabens and synthetic fragrances. And now it's great that there are lots of these do-it-yourself shops like Aroma Zone, for instance, in Paris. They not only sell extracts and actives and bases and things that you can use to create your own. They also equip you with tools that help you learn how to make this safely. And if you're not into making your own skincare, they have a section where they have finished product that you can either use as is or customize to your to your needs and preferences. And I don't know about other parts of the world, but I'm pretty sure that they've got just look around you and do a bit of research in whatever part of the world you are. I'm pretty sure that there are these DIY, make sure that they're certified and they know what they're doing, but they offer all of these options, and you can just the fact that you have control over what goes in your body is such a liberating thing. And I encourage you to do that. And to support that, studies from the Journal of Applied Toxicology shows that these ingredients in commercial product, in a lot of commercial products, can disrupt hormonal balance. They impact brain function as well. And so look for trusted brands that offer effective alternatives in your part of the world. Now, on cleaning supplies, choose products that are certified by organizations like Green Seal or opt for DIY cleaners. Again, a bit of research will have you finding lots of options. There's so many options, but always do your research and be sure that even the ones that claim to be DIY or Green Seal, still do your research and check the ingredient labels just to be sure that it's free of all the chemicals that we've highlighted here. Yeah. And of course, your kitchenware. Replace your non-stick cookware that contain PFAS chemicals, which are neurotoxic. Replace those with stainless steel or cast iron options. When I heard that non-stick cookware contained PFAS, I was like, what? And then neurotoxic, I was like, what the hell? Excuse my French. And that just had me throwing everything that was non-stick out of my home. And now I have all stainless steel and cast iron. Even the cooking equipment, I use wooden ones. And I know a lot of people think that wood is really hard to clean. But once I'm done, I don't let them sit around. Once I'm done using them, I wash thoroughly, and then I do a rinse with vinegar and warm water, like white vinegar, and it's so cheap, So that helps to get rid of whatever germs you think might be lurking in there. Plus, wood has been shown, like actual wood, not wood-like material. Wood has been shown to exhibit antibacterial and antimicrobial qualities. So wood on its own has antimicrobial qualities, but you want to do your due diligence and do a proper clean and make sure that it dries out completely. So leave it out in the open to dry out. Don't pop it in your drawer. Just make sure that it's properly dry before you store the wood, anything wood that you're using. And to support that, research from the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health has demonstrated that a direct link between PFAS exposure and reduced cognitive performance. It's been demonstrated in test subjects. The step 3 is to create daily toxin-free habits, because small, consistent habits can make a huge difference. For example, ventilate your space. I've mentioned that. Hydrate, and hydrate with the right amount, with the right quality, with good quality water. So filter your drinking water, like I mentioned, and reduce exposure to heavy metals like lead and arsenic. And the third is to declutter. So remove synthetic items like air fresheners and scented candles. which I mentioned earlier, are major VOC sources, and replace them with healthier options that I've mentioned above. No need to mention it again. And of course, and another major element here is to incorporate cognitive wellness practices. So a toxin-free space helps you set the stage for better brain health. And we can always enhance this with additional cognitive wellness practices, right? So the first thing that I do personally is I exercise regularly. Now, if you're exercising, you don't need to do it excessively. Just exercise as regularly as you can manage, and plan to exercise. Don't make it an afterthought, because if it's an afterthought, then you're not going to prioritize it. And in your brain, it's neuroplasticity. If your brain recognizes something as important, it's going to prioritize it on your list of, on your to-do list. So moderate exercise is one of the best ways to combat oxidative stress. Activities like walking, doing yoga, and swimming, they all stimulate, and weight training, because I weight train, and it's important to me, especially if you're older. You need to build your muscle tone, because musculoskeletal health is crucial to our body's overall health. That's another whole thing. But if you're interested in musculoskeletal health, I encourage you to go listen to Andy Galpin's podcast. Just look for Andy Galpin on Spotify. I don't know if he's on YouTube, but he's on Spotify. And there's a whole host of information on building musculoskeletal health, especially when you're older. But be careful to not overdo exercise, because intense, prolonged workouts can increase free radical production. Again, Andy Galpin's podcast is excellent for that. The second thing is to prioritize your sleep. So having a great sleep quality and sleep architecture, building a great sleep architecture, is crucial for cognitive health. And sleep, of course, we know is the time when our body is able to clear out free radicals and repair cellular damage. So aim for between 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep each night. I know they say you can get by on 6 hours. Some people are genetically conditioned for that, but they're very, very, very few people, a very small percentage. And men generally require fewer hours for quality sleep than women do. So we need more hours than men do. Okay? So aim for 7 to 9 hours of high quality sleep each night. And these simple changes, like reducing your screen time before bed, or switching to a red screen, and creating a calming nighttime routine, can make a huge difference. There's a podcast way back there on sleep hygiene and sleep architecture. Do have a listen and build with that. A third thing is to manage your stress levels. So chronic stress increases cortisol levels, which in turn leads to higher oxidative stress. So incorporated techniques like meditation, deep breathing exercises. I particularly love Vipassana meditation. It's a focusing on the breath. And it's been a game changer for me. I don't know how I can do without it now, because I've seen all the benefits. And also introducing journaling, if you're into that, can also help. And a study to support that is in Frontiers in Psychology, which shows that just 10 minutes of mindfulness practices per day has been shown to reduce oxidative stress markers in the participants. Now, really important is to get sunlight. But while you're getting sunlight, if you're in the tropics, it's important to protect your skin. If you're not in the tropics, at this time of year, it's good. But in the summer, it's important to protect your skin. So we all know that, I hope we all know that exposure to sunlight boosts your vitamin D levels, which is crucial for brain health. However, too much UV exposure can also cause oxidative stress in the skin. So as much as possible, cover up in the sun when it's really high, when the UV index is super high. There are apps on our phone that let us know when the UV index is super high or super low. So use that as well to your advantage. And don't spend too much time in the sun as well. And also, in order to protect your skin, natural protection. I mean, this is a subject for debate, but I don't use sunscreen. I have my reasons for doing that, because sunscreen products, the majority of sunscreen products contain endocrine disrupting chemicals. But do your research if you're choosing sunscreen, because sunscreen is important for blocking out UV exposure, harmful UV exposure. So I'm not an authoritative figure on that subject. It's important to do your research. I'm doing research on that as well. So yeah, so do that. And another thing is nutrition. So when we pair our toxin-free environment with a brain-supportive diet, that is a double whammy for amplifying our results. So foods rich in antioxidants like blueberries, spinach, among other things, can help us counteract oxidative stress. And research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that women who consumed high amounts of antioxidant-rich foods had better cognitive scores over time. So, one of the most effective ways, like I said, to combat it is by increasing our intake of antioxidants. So, I'm going to highlight, just to break down the foods, just in case we're not too familiar with antioxidant-rich foods. Examples are in the berry category: blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries are all packed with antioxidants like anthocyanins, which are particularly good for brain health. Leafy greens, that's all over social media, like spinach, kale, and Swiss chard, all contain high levels of vitamin A and C, both powerful antioxidants. Nuts and seeds like almonds, walnuts, and sunflower seeds are rich in vitamin E, which helps protect neurons from oxidative damage. And of course, we all love dark chocolate now and again. Dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa contains flavonoids that are great for reducing oxidative stress. And green tea in its natural form or in supplement form contains catechins, and this is a type of antioxidant that's known to boost brain health and fight oxidative damage. And also, of course, in diet, eat the rainbow. So when you're planning your meals, aim for a variety of colors on your plate, because each color represents different types of antioxidants. For example, red peppers and tomatoes are rich in lycopene. Orange carrots and sweet potatoes are full of beta-carotene. Purple egg, I don't really like eggplants, but yeah, eggplants are good for you. Eggplants and beets are loaded with anthocyanins. And if you need supplements, you're finding it hard to get enough antioxidants from food alone, certain supplements can help you. So look for ones that contain coenzyme Q10, which is a natural antioxidant that supports your cellular energy and brain health. Curcumin, which is found in turmeric, is an antioxidant that also helps to reduce inflammation. Vitamin C and vitamins E are particularly effective for fighting oxidative stress in the brain. But remember, supplements should complement a healthy diet and not replace it. So always consult with your nutritionist before starting new supplements, especially if you're on medication, because there are contraindications to everything, right? So always consult with your doctor or your nutritionist. Now, another really important thing to consider is to reduce processed foods and reduce sugar intake, because processed foods and refined sugars, and by sugar, I don't mean sugar in foods, I mean refined sugars and added sugars. These increase inflammation and oxidative stress in the body. So instead of these, focus on getting your sugars from whole foods and complex carbs like quinoa, like oatmeal, and sweet potatoes. Think of it as fuel for your brain. It runs best on clean energy. Now, another important one is to avoid excessive alcohol and smoking. Now, both alcohol and smoking dramatically increase free radicals in the body. So if you drink, stick to moderate amounts, or if you can, completely eliminate it from your habits. And if you can't, think one glass of red wine occasionally, like once a week, to reward yourself. For instance, I used to reward myself with a can of Coke because I loved Coke so much back then. But I eventually weaned myself off it. I haven't touched any fizzy drink in close to 2 years now. I'm very proud of myself for doing that, because I could not imagine not ever drinking Coke. I loved it that much. Red wine also has been known to contain resveratrol, which is an antioxidant, but then it has alcohol, which, is not particularly good for you in large amounts. And if you smoke, consider seeking support to quit, because it will be one of the most impactful changes that you can make for yourself. Now, let's bring it all together. Reducing oxidative stress doesn't have to be an overwhelming venture. Small, consistent changes can make big impacts over time. And I always say this: awareness is the first step to making changes. So once you're aware of the damage that it does and the mechanisms through which it works, you're more excuse me. When you're aware of the damage that this causes and the mechanism through which they do, you're approaching finding solutions from an educated perspective. So here is a simple action plan to get you started this week. So you can start by adding one antioxidant-rich food to each meal. Like in the mornings, if you're having your breakfast, add blueberries to your bread or any antioxidant-rich fruits, or spinach into your lunchtime, and a handful of almonds for a snack. Or also swap out one source of toxin in your home. Maybe ditch the scented candles with synthetic fragrances. Just ditch it. If you've got it in your space right now, throw it away and go buy healthier options. They cost a little more because they're handmade and they're made with love and with care and with intention. So of course they cost a little more. And you can swap it out for an essential oil diffuser, or swap out your plastic bottle for stainless steel or glass. And also spend 10 minutes each day practicing mindfulness or going for a calming walk outdoors. And these small steps might seem, insignificant, but over time they add up to create a healthier, more balanced environment for your brain and your body. So this week, I, Lola Diajai, I challenge you, listener, to pick one area of your home. You could start with your kitchen or your skincare routine and make it toxin-free. And then take a before and after inventory and see how it feels to make that change over time. I really hope that this gives you a clear roadmap for fighting oxidative stress and protecting your cognitive health during this important, transformative, transitional phase of our lives. And remember, you're not powerless. You have the power to support your brain by making intentional choices every day. And as always, if you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who you care about, and subscribe to this podcast. It helps with my reach, and also so you never miss an episode, so that we can keep the conversation going and flowing. And of course, don't forget to check the show notes for links to the studies I have referenced in this podcast. Together, we can create healthier, sharper, and more resilient minds. And I hope that I see you next time for another empowering conversation. This is the last episode of the year because it's Christmas and it's the festive season. And I really would like to just take the time to recalibrate and reflect on the year that has passed and also the year that is coming. And I hope that you have an amazing holiday. You enjoy your time with family, with friends, eat responsibly, and indulge in something you love. I'm going to indulge, and I love chocolate and I love Von Show. So indulge responsibly, and I will see you in 2025. Take care and be well. Bye.